This is Road Noise episode number 62. All I Want for Christmas is You. Hello and welcome again to another episode of Road Noise Life 1 Mile at a Time. I'm your host, Michael Blackston, and in this episode we're going to go all up and down my Christmas list. It's All I Want for Christmas is You, my Road Noise Christmas wish list. And this is not the official Christmas episode of this year's 2016 Road Noise, but it's the next to the Christmas episode. It's by the time this is released, it'll be like a week before Christmas, and so we're gearing up for the season. I'm excited about it more so this year than I was last year, even though I've been a lot more busy than I've ever been any Christmas season before now. I am just slam-packed at work. But it's good. I mean, it means more money in the bank, and although it means more time away from the family leading up until Christmas, it's going to give me a little more resources, I think, and a little more ability to enjoy the Christmas season when it does get here in a couple of weeks, or the Christmas time, Christmas Day and the day after, and Christmas Eve and all that, right as it gets up to me. And the areas right after, the week after Christmas. Actually, I'm going to work the week after Christmas. But I'm excited more this year than I was last year. For some reason last year, I was really stressed during the Christmas season. Everything was going fine, but I was really stressed. And a lot of it, I think, had to do with the fact that we were putting together a Christmas show for our local theater. It was only a 3-night show, but we did it for 3 nights. Or maybe it was just 2 nights. Anyway, we did it, and I was in the middle of doing all that and trying to get work together and trying to do all the Christmas stuff, and it just was a little too much this time of the year last year. So even though I'm more busy this year, I'm a little less stressed because it's work and family, and I'm paying more attention to the Christmas season than I did last year. It's kind of funny. I was so intent on getting this Christmas show perfect and so intent in getting the Christmas float for the local city parade that advertised this show for the theater, getting that perfect. My to-do list was just nonstop. This year, it's go to work and do the work, but when I'm home, and I'm enjoying that. And I've had some victories here recently in my life as far as finishing my novel and knowing what I'm going to do next and kind of getting a roadmap for what my next projects are and all this other stuff. I'm excited about the new year coming up and some new opportunities for podcasts and stuff. But I'm also thinking about some stuff involving this podcast, the Road Noise podcast. And if you listen to episode number 61 at the end, you heard me come in from my hotel room. And by the way, let me say that when I was listening to that in my earbuds, I had left my earphones at home, my good ones, and I have some really crappy earphones that I bought recently, or headphones to do my editing with, and they hardly have any volume. I don't know if they're just defective or if it's just that brand, but they're awful sounding, or they're awful as far as audio-wise. Maybe I just need to get my hearing checked. I just can't hardly hear in them. So I put my earbuds in, and I edited my voice in that last piece from my hotel room from the earbuds, and in the earbuds, they sounded fine. That audio did. But when I listened back to the podcast after it was uploaded and tried to listen to how that sounded, I was talking about how good the audio quality was, and it was not. So I apologize for that. That is not the audio quality you're going to get from the Everything Arts podcast coming up after 2017. I promise you it's going to be top-notch audio quality. But I got all that set up. I just was doing that from a hotel room, and I realized I was facing right at a wall, so the sound waves were bouncing right back into the microphone, and it just did all kinds of funky stuff that when I listened back on it, I did not like it at all. Anyway, my Christmas wish list for the Road Noise podcast. If you listen to the last episode and heard the end of it, I'm kind of deciding what I want to do with this podcast, where I want to go from here, how I want to host it, because it's costing me money that I need to set aside for some of my business type podcasts that are coming up after the first of the year, and I really can't afford the money that I'm using for hosting right now. So I'm looking at some resources for free hosting, although I really don't want to go that route. I'd like to stay with Libsyn, the paid hosting, because it's just a stable platform. And it's not that expensive, but it just starts adding up once you start adding more podcasts and stuff to it. So I mentioned to you that Patreon is an option, and I'm working on getting my Patreon account happening, but because I'm so busy right now, it's kind of hit and miss. Here and there I get a chance to work on it, but there's other stuff I have to put in front of that right now, so it may be a little bit before I get the Patreon account going. And when that's up, you'll be able to pledge a certain amount of money per episode if you think this stuff is valuable to you, this podcast. If not, we may have to go a different direction. But I decided in this episode I wanted to come up with my road noise wish list. What do I wish coming up in the new year, whether it just keeps on trucking along or whether it just goes for as long until it peters out. Whatever happens with road noise, what is my wish list for the coming year? Santa, if I could sit on your lap and ask for stuff for this podcast, what would it be? So I came up with a list of surprise, 7 things that I wish that I've written down and I'm handing to the figurative Santa Claus as I sit on his figurative lap. And man, is it cushy. My figurative Santa Claus has a fat, cushy thigh. He's probably complaining about my fat, cushy butt too, sitting on his lap, so we'll make this as quick as we can, figurative Santa. All right, number 1 for this podcast, I want to find a way to continue the show. So going right back to what I was just talking about, I want to find a good, positive way to continue this show. It's, like I said, it's only costing me $15 a month to pay Libsyn to host this podcast, but I need to move that money to some other places, and I really don't want to have to continue paying that. At the same time, I'm going to for a while. I will tell you, I'm going to do that for a while because my other, and I may pay for both for a while because I'm thinking my other podcast may grow fairly quickly with what all I've learned about marketing a podcast and the rebranding that I'm doing with my business and stuff. It's going to be the Everything Arts Podcast, and it's going to go right along with my business now as a professional artist. Because when I first started my company as Blackston Arts, it was all about the etching. And while that is still going strong and growing, in fact, I have to kind of tamp it down and be careful about how much it grows and how fast because it's only me. At the same time, I'm going to rebrand into Everything Arts instead of Blackston Arts because there are other elements of my artistic life that are coming into play and starting to become elements of my work. And so, including the podcasts and stuff. So the Everything Arts Podcast, I'm going to brand to Everything Arts, and I'm going to put that money in there at the same time for at least 2 or 3, 4 or 5, maybe 6 months while I'm putting all this together, because I think as I grow that podcast, I may be able to get enough support to pay for that one, and then maybe my hobby monies can just stay for this. I pray and ask Santa that I find a good way to continue this show because I really do enjoy doing it. Every time I think about not doing it, somebody does contact me and says how much they're enjoying the show and what value they find from it. And then I say, oh, well, now I don't want to quit doing the show because I really enjoy doing it, and there are people out there listening to me. But then after a while, I don't hear from anybody, and I start thinking, well, is it really worth it? Or not really, is it worth it, but does anybody care? It's just the human nature. It's the way we do things, and we're insecure, so it always goes back to that. But I really love doing this show, and I want to continue to find a way to do it. So that's number 1 for me to ask you, Santa, as I sit on your cushy fat thigh, could you help give me a way to continue the show? Number 2, I want to know that this content is valuable to you. So Santa, can you give me a way or make it certain to me that the content that I am currently providing and the way that I'm providing it is valuable to the people who are listening to this podcast? As small in numbers as they may be, at least are they finding value in it? Is it enhancing their lives? And I just want to know that you find it valuable, that it's something you look forward to every week. Number 3, I want to get to know you. Number 3 on my wish list is to get to know my listeners on a more personal level. I don't want to knock on your door on Thanksgiving and squeeze between Aunt Edna and cousin Smitty and say, pass me the cranberry sauce. Now, I'm not saying that I'm going to do that, but I want to be on your podcast player on Thanksgiving. I want you to wonder what Michael's going to say for this Thanksgiving episode. I want to get to know you. I want to hear from you. I want you to know that I understand that most people who listen to this podcast have a hard time fitting everything into their schedules, including sitting down and sending an email to Michael Blackston at feedback@michaelblackston.com. See what I did there? Or, I think I'm going to dial 706-408-7456 and leave a voicemail for Michael. See what I did there? I know that it's hard to find time in your day to do everything that's on your schedule and your list, but I hope to get to know you. I hope that you'll find time. And by the way, I do want to say that if you have not emailed me yet and you're a regular listener, I would ask that you at least just drop me a line somehow and say, Michael, I'm listening and I enjoy it. It really does lift my spirits and inspire me to hear from you. I've heard from a few of you now, and I really do appreciate it. And those of you who I have heard from will attest that I get right back to you. I mean, you're my buddy. You're my friend. So number 3 is to get to know you. Number 4, I want to hear your voice. I gave you the voicemail line just a second ago, and did you know I have only had one person who is a personal friend of mine that I know, he's in my circle. He left a voicemail for me, and I was able to play it on the show several months back. That's Zach, my buddy Zach. Hey, Zach. He's the only one who has left a voicemail for me. So I asked Santa that people will get the courage to dial 706-408-7456. What was that number, son? Oh, Santa, let me repeat that for you. 706-408-7456. That's the voicemail hotline for the Road Noise Podcast. And I would love to hear people on that voicemail say, hey, Michael, I'm whatchamadoodle from such and such state or even such and such country. I would love to hear, hello, Michael, I am calling you from so-and-so, and I would like to tell you I listen to the Road Noise Podcast. I'd love to, hello, mate. Love listening to the show. Glad you put it out there for us, and I hope you continue doing it. I'd love to hear from you. Hey, Mike, thanks for what you do. I look forward to your show every week. Thanks for providing the content over here. It doesn't matter where you're from. You could be from right next door, a county over, or you could be from overseas or across the country. I want to hear from you. I hope you'll consider calling that number, 706-408-7456, and leaving me a voicemail. So Santa, baby, could you do that for me? Number 5. Wow, I sounded like a DJ right there. Number 5. Can you tell I'm in a happy mood? I'm going to take a break right here in the middle of this and say, I listen to my podcast all the time. You can call it what you want. There's actually a very rude term for podcasters who listen to their own podcasts all the time. A really rude term for it, and I'm not going to say it here. If you're a podcaster, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But I am one. I mean, I listen to my show all the time. I like to critique myself. And one of the things that I've noticed here recently, again, is I've gotten a little too serious. And one thing a friend of mine and I were talking about this week, one of the people that works and is part of the family business of the monument company I was working with this week, we were sitting there talking just as we were doing our stuff, and got on the subject of, I said, when I'm professional, when I come into these monument companies, I'm really not as much myself as they may think. I'm nice and I'm polite and very courteous and professional, but really, I am off-the-wall joker. I'm the guy. My aunt says that I have always reminded her of Chandler from Friends. Just the things I say, the crazy, wacky, off-the-wall things I say, and the one-liners I constantly come up with. It's hardly ever anything that comes out of my mouth when I'm around my family that is not a punchline. And so I said, Christy, it was who I was talking to here at the Monument Company earlier this week. I said, I'm really trying to kind of get a little more of my personality to come through in my business. And I thought about that immediately. It came to the Road Noise podcast, and I said, you know what? I think I'm a little too stiff. I said that right when I first started doing this podcast, and I listened to some stuff, and I said I want to be more natural because I want this to be an authentic podcast. And I said I want to be more natural and not sound so much like a radio jock when I'm doing this, because when I first started, I was doing a little bit of this right here just because this was the way I was used to talking on a radio show. If I were going to say, this is the Road Noise Podcast with Mike Blackston. Thanks for listening. I was doing a little bit of that at first, getting rid of the southern accent as much as I can and being a little generic and putting that bass into my voice. I don't want to do that anymore. Or I haven't been doing that really in the podcast, but at the same time, I've been dull. I guess that's what I'm getting at. These topics I've hit on here recently have been so heavy. I've talked about my addiction to pornography. I've talked about how to deal with death and loss in two different parts, 2 different episodes back to back on that. And I talked about all kinds of different stuff. Can you hear from God? Really heavy topics, deep, thoughtful topics. And although that's good, and I'm hoping you're enjoying that type of stuff, it's not really exactly how I first envisioned this podcast. And so while I do want to give you those topics, I don't want to stop doing that, because some of that stuff is the stuff that people who have gotten back in contact with me have told me has been valuable to them. So I don't want to strip that away from you. But at the same time, I do want to be more me, and that's going to mean you're going to hear more of what you're hearing right now. Probably faster talking, a little more excited. I'm moving my hands. I keep having to tell myself I'm going to have to train myself to keep my hands on the wheel. I bought this hands-free headset so that I could keep both hands on the wheel, but the more excited I talk with my hands, and I'm sitting here waving them around and stuff, take them off the wheel for even just a second. You're going to hear a lot more of this type of excitement from me. Hopefully, I can keep this energy up. I really want this show to be energetic, and I want more of me to come out. So I hope you don't mind. I'm going to be a little more goofy, because that's my nature. That's where I'm natural. Just saying the first thing that comes to my mind, trying my best to have a filter so I don't say anything really unsavory. But at the same time, if it's goofy, I'm probably going to say it. So I'm just warning you ahead of time. And if you're a new listener, I hope that's something that'll bring you in. Where did I stop off? I really just went off on a rabbit trail there, but I wanted to say that. Okay, number 5, Santa. I'm sorry. I know this is taking a long time. And that kid that's waiting in line behind me, he's not crying because he wants to. He's crying because you're scaring the hound dog out of him, and you smell. So I'm just saying, I'll stay here. It'll do us all a big favor on your lap and ask you for number 5 on my wish list. And number 5 on my wish list is to hear and share the stories of my listeners. I talked about wanting to hear your voice. I want to not just hear from you saying, hey, Michael, I'm listening, but I want to hear you say, hey, Michael, I'm listening, and I just had to share this with you. Maybe it's a victory you had, a triumph, and you want to share it, and you want me to share it with the world of whoever will listen, both presently and in the future, as long as these podcast episodes stay on the interwebs. I want to share that stuff. I'm telling you my stories. I want to share your stories, and I can only do that when my listeners tell me those stories. So please, that is one of the things I'm asking Santa big time from you, is to share your stories. And to kind of go off on the mark, actually, I'm going to drink some of my lovely, tasty Mountain Dew Kickstart, which now come to think of it may be some of the reason that I'm quite as hyper as I am right now. Maybe I need to keep Quick Start. Maybe it's not even Quick Start, it's Kickstart. Maybe Mountain Dew Kickstart needs to be the official soft drink. It's official. They're not paying me to do this. They would never pay me to do this because this is such a small show. I am not even a blip on their radar screen. I'm not even the faint hint of an odor that goes past their nose. But I am henceforth dubbing the Kickstart, Mountain Dew Kickstart, the official drink of the Road Noise Podcast. Here we go. I wanted to pontificate a little bit on number 5 on to hear and to share your story, because I've got an idea of coming up in February. I want to talk about how we met stories. I want to hear your love stories. How you met your significant other, your spouse, your boyfriend, your girlfriend. I want to hear about that. I bet there are some awesome stories out there. I've told you mine about how I met my wife. It's in one of the episodes. Don't ask me to tell you what number it is because I didn't look before I started recording this. But at the same time, you have just as interesting a story as I do. And I want to hear it, and I want to put it in an episode coming up in February for a Valentine's episode. So it'll be coming up on us quickly. If you would please, I'm going to go ahead and give you the email address and the phone number one more time right now. So grab a pen, grab a pencil, grab a quill, stick yourself and write it in blood. I don't care what you got to do. Write down these ways to contact me. It's feedback@michaelblackston.com. That's feedback@michaelblackston.com. Or call it in. I'd really love to hear it in your own voice at 706-408-7456. Now, if you do call that number, it's going to automatically send you to a voicemail, and you'll hear me saying, "This is Michael Blackston from the Road Noise Podcast." I believe I've got that set up that way. And you just leave a message, and it sends it to me, and I can save it as an MP3, run it through my computer, add it to the podcast, yada, 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 all that nerdy stuff. However you want to do it, just get in touch with me and tell me your story. I want to be able to deliver them in an episode coming up in February for the Valentine's Day week. Number 6, Santa, I want to find out what my listeners want to hear from me. I want my listeners to tell me some more topics. I've already got one topic in mind that's a heavy topic that'll be coming up here before too awful long, probably after the first of the year, that I'm going to be hitting. And I'm not even going to share what that is right now. You'll hear it when you hear it, but one of my listeners mentioned a situation in their life, and I thought I actually can come from some experience in that, and I'm going to give, I call it my wisdom, but I don't really know how wise I am, but you'll hear from me. Hello, transfer truck. Pause and not say anything as I pass him. It might be a little too much noise. But I need more than that. It helps me stay inspired when I know some things I want to hear from you. The how to deal with death and loss, that came from Deviri. She said in her email, I would like to hear your thoughts on how to handle loss. I did not only an entire episode, I did so long of an episode on that, I had to split it up into 2 parts for 2 separate weeks. I am willing to hear from you, and I asked Santa to give me some topics from the listeners that they would like me to talk about. At number 7, I want to make a difference in my listeners' lives. Even if they never contact me, even if they never say anything to me ever again, and I keep the show going, I just want to know I'm making a difference in their lives. I want to know that when they tune into the Road Noise Podcast and they listen to Michael Blackston's voice, that it is somewhere they can go, a place that is special to them to go for a balm. Not a bomb, a balm, B-A-L-M. Something that they can go to give them peace and comfort, maybe some answers. I want to make a difference in their lives. I want at the end of every episode for them to turn that off and continue thinking about what I said because it struck a chord. That's what I want. I want this show not to just be ear candy. I want it to be important to people. Hopefully it will be. And that's my Christmas list. Santa, okay, fine. I'm up. The kid's still crying next in line. I don't think he likes you. So that's my Christmas list. Thank you so much for listening to me, Santa Claus, and I can't wait till Christmas morning to find all the answers to these questions. You can help me. You can play Santa Claus if you are a listener. You can be Santa Claus for me by helping me with that. I'm going to run back down this list one more time. Number 1 was to find a way to continue the show. Number 2 was to know that this content is valuable to my listeners. Number 3, I want to get to know my listeners more personally. Number 4, I want to hear their voices. Number 5, I want to hear and share the listeners' stories. Number 6, I want to find out what the listeners want from me and what they would like to hear from me in the way of topics and stuff like that. And number 7, I just want Road Noise, Life 1 Mile at a Time, to make a difference and be important in the lives of my listeners. Dun 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 dun. The week before Christmas show. Next week's show, by the way, is going to be my special Christmas show. And my special Christmas show is going to be a topic that's fit for a king. It's all about Jesus. I'm going to go into some detail about Jesus, what Jesus means to me, my life as a Christian, from childhood on, but I'm going to really kind of center it and focus it around the Christmas season and why it's so important that we do remember and worship Jesus Christ on Christmas. Now, I'm going to take a sip again of the official beverage of the Road Noise podcast, Mountain Dew's Kickstart. I'm drinking orange. I always drink orange. I'm scared to try the other flavors. They're probably delicious too, but I like orange. I'm back. I'm going to talk about my week. Now I'm going to get a little bit more serious here, and I hope it's okay with my brand new friends that I talk about this. I'm going to try to be vague because I didn't have permission to really talk about it in detail or anything like that, and I know them, I think, after this week well enough to know that they would love this little tribute, but at the same time, I just want to tell you about the week that I've had in Sumter, South Carolina with the family of Skylar. And I don't often get to find out much about what happened. I don't find out much about the life of the people that I'm rendering the artwork for on their monuments. Every now and then I get to meet the family, and a lot of times they're nice and they're pleasant to deal with, but I really don't get to know them all that much. They'll sit there and they'll ooh and ah over my work, but that's about it. But this week there was a lot of work to be done. And honestly, it had to be one of the toughest weeks I've ever had in my career as a granite etcher, simply because, and not because of anything negative, just because of the amount of work that needed to go in it, and because of the connection that I began to feel with the family. Skylar was a young teenage boy, and his family is dealing with his loss. Very strong family, strong in faith. Just, it's amazing to watch people as they cope, and sometimes cope well, sometimes, the tears come. But Skylar's family, his mom, I spent a lot of time with his mom. She stayed at the Monument Company quite a bit while I was doing this. I had a huge ledger to do a color scene that had, it was kind of a forest and swamp scene that had a whitetail buck, it had a turkey, it had bass jumping out of the water, it had ducks flying in and landing, it had a raccoon on a limb, it had a squirrel on a limb. The boy was a hunter, and he loved the outdoors. It had his truck, it had his image of him standing there looking over the entire scene with his dog, faithful Labrador black lab that was sitting right next to him, lying down on the ground next to him, and we incorporated that all into a color scene on this. I call it a ledger. It's a flat 4-inch thick, and I want to say this was 3 feet wide by 6 feet tall, I think is what the measurements was of the ledger, and it lays on the ground. It's a flat ground marker. And he also has an upright stone that sits up on a base that has what we call a serpentine top. It's kind of got a curvy top at the middle and curves down and out at the ends, with a portrait of him on one side on the front and a collage of his loves of sports on the right up in the top corner, on the left and right, and then on the other side we did an 11 by 17 portrait of him sitting in a boat seat that was just kind of this, it wasn't a a posed picture. It was just a snapshot taken of him that everybody that saw that photograph said, that is Skylar. It's just the epitome of Skylar. He was smiling, happy, just joyful young man. I got to meet his mom. I spent a lot of time with her, and I got to meet his uncle. I got to meet his triplet, 2 brothers and sister. I got to meet his dad. I got to meet his grandmother. I got to meet all of these people. Such a beautiful, wonderful family, and they really blessed my heart. And normally I don't say things about the families of the customers that I deal with. I don't go into too much detail about it, but I just really felt a connection with these folks, and they were so nice and so authentic and so appreciative of me that it really made me feel like one of them. And so I have just spent the entire week bathed in the love of a family who is honoring their loved one the best way they know how, and just treating me with such kindness and love. So I appreciate that. So to the family of Skylar, thank you so much. I won't say anybody's names. I don't know that you'd want me to, so I'm not going to. But to the family of Skylar, thank you so much for making me feel welcome into this legacy that you're leaving. So the last thing I want to do is give you this week's positive review. And in this week's positive review, it's something everybody's had a little bit of experience with, and it's sitting on my dashboard. When I have had a tough week, and again, this week wasn't tough in a negative way, it was just tough because it was a lot of work, there was a lot of emotion. I poured myself into this work. It wasn't just emotional for them, it was emotional for me. And it's exhausting when you do this kind of detail. And so sometimes I will treat myself with the almighty Nature's Perfect Chocolate Wreath Oreo cookie. Do I need to say anything about the Oreo cookie that you don't already know? That it's perfect, it's wonderful. There's no substitute, whether it's the regular cream or the double stuff. Now, I will say, don't give me any of the other stuff. You give me the regular Oreo or the double stuff Oreo, and we'll go from there. But an Oreo, I mean, what do I got to say? This week's positive review is OREO, Oreo. Join me next week for the special Christmas episode, A Topic Fit for a King. It's all about Jesus. I'm going to enjoy doing that. I'm looking forward to doing that. I'm looking forward to getting towards Alabama, which is where I will be heading, I think, when I get that episode recorded. I think I'll be doing that in the morning when I head out on Monday morning. So thank you so much. I'm on my way home. I'm about an hour from the house. On my way back from Sumter, South Carolina. You've been sitting alongside me in the passenger seat as we learn to live life 1 mile at a time. I'm Michael Blackston, your host. Share road noise, please. I'm going to give you that information one more time. My email address is feedback@michaelblackston.com. My voicemail line to leave a message for me audibly in your voice is 706-408-7456. And you can also go to the website hosted by Libsyn at www.roadnoisepodcast.com. I've got social media share buttons there. I've got an iTunes button there where you can go to iTunes and leave me a rating and review if you'd like to do that. But my main thing is word of mouth. Tell somebody about the Road Noise Podcast if it's valuable to you, and you know somebody you think that it would help or at least be entertaining to. Share it. Let them know about it. Send them a link to one of the episodes or a link to the website, and help me out. Until next episode, thank you for listening. I'm Michael Blackston. Goodbye, everybody. Hey, yo. Hey, Mike. Hey, Mike, thanks for what you put over. Hey, Mike, thanks for what you do. I'm glad to hear from you. Hey, Mike, thanks for what you do. I look forward to listen. Hey, Mike, thanks for what you do. Hey, Mike, thanks for what you do. I love to look forward. Hey, Mike, thanks for what you do. I look forward to your show every week.